and welcome in this session about integrating cloud service access in your iOS application. My name is Bruno Fierens. I'm working for TMS Software, and here's some information where you can find us on the website, on Twitter for the company TMS Software, and my personal Twitter account. Content of this session today will give a brief introduction, a technical background on consuming cloud services from desktop or mobile applications, some real-life examples of integrating with these cloud services from applications, an overview of the components that are available in our TMS Cloud Pack for iOS or for VCL. And the major part of this session will be devoted to a hands-on example, coding with Delphi XC4, creating an iPad application consuming cloud services and using our TMS Cloud Pack components. And we'll round up with some references and about 15 minutes for questions and answers. The technical background on consuming cloud services. We are here in the territory of HTTPS communication from our application to these cloud services based on REST commands we do from our application, HTTP get, put, post and delete commands. A big part of consuming cloud services is in many cases doing the authentication and authorization of our application with the cloud service itself, and this is in most of the cloud services implemented via the OAuth protocol. Language of communication between our desktop or mobile application and the cloud service itself is in these days mostly done with the JSON, where a couple of years ago this was still based on XML. Nowadays it's mostly based on JSON. Each of these cloud services mostly implements the OAuth protocol that's based meanwhile on the OAuth 1.0 or 2.0 specification, but other than this, of course, all the methods that the cloud service exposes is each cloud service has its own API, and that is documented by the cloud service itself. A little background about OAuth. That is a protocol to give an application or a service access to a password-protected online resource without knowing the account details. So it's very important that some application, for example your mobile iOS application, can access the account of a cloud service, for example a Twitter account, without giving that application the actual username and password of the Twitter account, and that's of course for security reasons. The OAuth protocol is based on communication with HTTP, and in most cases definitely in OAuth 2.0 is based on HTTPS, and as explained there are meanwhile 1.0, 1.0a and 2.0 OAuth specifications. In the references we'll give you a link to the RFC for the specs of OAuth. So real-life examples. If you allow an application, a mobile iOS Delphi application for example, to access a Twitter account or a Facebook account of the user owning the device, the application needs to know the username and password, and you will typically see a screen, as you can see here, where you will ask the user to log in on a Facebook account, and via this login Facebook will either allow or disallow that your application accesses the Facebook account of the user. Another example is for example when you have your iOS client application and allowing that client application to upload for example pictures on your mobile device to a Flickr account or to a Picasa account or a cloud storage account. In our TMS Cloud Pack for iOS that is at this moment provided for free by Embarcadero to Delphi XE4 users, we have different categories of components that help you, that make it very easy to access these cloud services from your iOS application. We have a first category of components that covers cloud storage. So with components you can, in a very simple and easy way, upload and download files or share files on a Google Drive, on a Microsoft SkyDrive, your Dropbox account, or a Box.net cloud storage account. We have some components for dealing with image sharing cloud services such as Flickr and Picasa. Another category is the category of social networks, where we have components that make it very easy to access Twitter accounts, to tweet messages, to retrieve your feed from Twitter, and do the same with Facebook, or also access the LinkedIn service and deal with your personal account, do searches on companies and users. Another category is this of personal data access, where we offer components that allow you to interact and to access, add, delete, and modify contact information in your Google Contacts or Microsoft Contacts account, and do the same thing for your calendar information, where you can access, retrieve one or more of your calendars, add events in this calendar, or remove and edit these events in Google Calendar or Microsoft Calendar. And finally, some other components, one of which is the weather information component that allows you to access weather information based on some location. As explained, the main part of this presentation is a hands-on development of an iPad application. We do this with Delphi XE4 and some of our components from the TMS Cloud Pack for iOS. Purpose of this application is to take an image with your iPad camera and then use that image to upload it to an online storage service. In this case, we'll do this in this demo with a Dropbox account, and we will also share this same picture on your Facebook account, and finally also tweet about the picture that was taken with the iPad. So let's switch to Delphi XE4 and start coding this sample application. So here we are in our Delphi IDE, Delphi XE4, and I have already prepared the basics of this application just for the sake of saving time. The application is created by a tab control, where we have in the first step everything that's related to taking images with the iPad camera, and the second tab, that's where we have still some work to do. This is the tab where we will add the cloud connectivity. In the first step we have a toolbar, and on that toolbar we have a toolbar button. From this button we will actually take the picture. And here, if we have a little look at the code behind this button click, we have here some code that maps to native iOS calls that perform showing the camera and allow us to take a picture with the iPad camera from this application. We have a list box. In this list box we will display the list of images that were taken by the app, and here we have a T-image to preview the image, and here we have a button and some input control to enter the information that we want to put on our Facebook and Twitter account. So, first thing that we need to do when we want to add cloud connectivity to our application is actually register our application with the service providers, in this case Dropbox, Facebook and Twitter. And so if To do that, we need to go through the process of registering our application, and we do that by going to the developer part of the websites of these services, in this case to developers.facebook.com. We are logged in with our account, and then we can go to the page where we register our application. When we register our application, we will receive a unique key and a unique secret, and that uniquely identifies our application. That also means that whenever our application accesses, for example, the Facebook service to do something, Facebook actually knows which application is doing this, and this is also a way that Facebook can control that our application or the user respects the terms of use of this service. And something similar is available from Twitter. If we go to dev.twitter.com/apps, we see here for my account that there are already 2 applications registered with Twitter, and I can create a new application from here, where I will also receive a new key and secret. And exactly the same is available from Dropbox. So we go to www.dropbox.com/developer/apps, and here we see an application that was already created before. From here we can add a new application that will access the Dropbox Cloud service. Now, first of all, before starting to add this cloud connectivity, let's just have a brief look at what the functionality of the application is already doing right now. So I deploy this application to my iPad device to give some information about the real setup of the environment here. We have a desktop PC, and next to this desktop PC we have a MacBook where the SDK is installed and where the PA server is running, and to that MacBook is an iPad device connected. And then I have some software running on the desktop PC, and this is the Reflector software. And with this Reflector software I can show the content of my iPad device on my Windows machine. So here we have our iPad application running, and so if I click this camera button, you can actually see right now live the environment where I create this application, and here we have the MacBook where the PA server is running. So we can take a picture from here and use that picture, and click on use, and we have in this case 1 picture in the list. So this is the basics that we have implemented for capturing pictures here in this iPad application. Okay. And now we are ready to add access to our cloud services. So we go to the second tab in this application, and here I will add 3 buttons to start with. From each button we will perform the connection to a cloud service. So the first button will be the one that performs the authentication and authorization with Facebook. So let's give this some meaningful name. Second one is for Twitter, and last one is for Dropbox. Next, we will add the components that will perform the actual communication with the cloud service. And what you see here in the tool palette is the set of components that come in the TMS Cloud Pack for iOS. So here you see the full list of components. For this demo, we will use the Facebook component, we will use the Dropbox component, and we will also use the Twitter component. If we have a look at this non-visual component, we see that each of these components has the property app. This is where we configure the unique key and secret that we have obtained from our cloud service when registering our application. So actually the first thing that our application will need to do is set up our cloud access components with this information, with these key and secrets. I have prepared a code snippet to save some time. And so here you can see that the key and secret for the Facebook component is set up. And here we have the key and secret for the Twitter component, and here we have key and secret for the Dropbox component. These are constants that I assign to these properties, and these constants come from an include file. Here are the constants defined. I'm not going to show the key and secret for the obvious reason that someone could use my key and secrets to pretend that their application is a TMS application, and they could of course for example abuse the terms of service of one of these cloud services, and then of course we have a problem, which is something that we like to avoid. Next step in this initialization of the cloud access component is setting up the location where our access token will be persisted. The access token is the key that we will receive from Facebook, Twitter and Dropbox, the key with which we can start using their cloud service. And so we set up here in this iPad application that our key is persisted in an ini file in the documents folder from the iPad device. And here we call load tokens. The load tokens call will try to retrieve a previously stored access token from this ini file. If no access token has been saved before, it's obvious that this access token will be empty and will not work. Another thing that we will do in this application is add some checkboxes, and we will use these checkboxes to visualize the state of the cloud access component, whether it has a valid access token, yes or no. So let's give this checkbox some name, and we add checkboxes for the other services as well. Like this. And I set the name. And the same for the Dropbox checkbox. And let's set some more meaningful text to this checkbox, so it will be checked when we have access to these cloud services. And finally we do the same thing for the Dropbox account, Dropbox connected. So now what we have to do is perform the first step of authentication and authorization to obtain an access key from Facebook, Twitter and Dropbox, and we initialize this from a click on this button. I have prepared a code snippet for that as well to go fast, and this is the code snippet that I will be using for Facebook. So what I do is I check if I'm might already be previously connected, and if so, I clear the tokens, which means that I actually make the access token or the key empty. I throw the key with which I have access to Facebook away, and so I need to perform a new authentication and authorization to obtain a new key in that case. When I have no key, then I call this method OAuth, and this is the first step that performs authentication and authorization, and the component performs this all by itself. And almost identical code that we use to get connected to Twitter. Same procedure, checking if we are already have obtained an access token. If so, we give the opportunity to clear the access token, and if we do not have an access token yet, we perform the authentication and authorization. And we do the same for Dropbox, and I take the code snippet for Dropbox in that case. So what we basically have now is that when our application starts, so let's go to the form create. When our application starts, we initialize our non-visual cloud access components, and we have added for now the possibility to perform a new authentication authorization to get a new access token from a click on these buttons. There's some more things that we have to do. One thing that that might be interesting to do is initialize our checkboxes with the state of the access token, and we can do this in a very simple way by calling our cloud components method test tokens. So this method returns true if the access token that was loaded with the load tokens call, if this access token is still accepted, in this case by Facebook, and will work to access their services. And I do the same thing now for Twitter, like this, and of course also for Dropbox. Okay, so now when I start up my application, my checkboxes will be initialized and will show if my access tokens are valid, yes or no. To get our application really working, there's one more step that we need to do, and that is, if we receive a valid access token through the process of authentication, that we get this access token and that we persist it or save it to an ini file. And that's something that we can do from the event on received access token that each of these cloud components has. So I add the event handler, and from here I call save tokens. So this event is triggered when I have received a valid access token, and so I can also initialize this checkbox to true, because this event is only triggered when I have retrieved the valid access token. And I do the same thing for Twitter as well. I save the tokens and I initialize the state of this checkbox. And exactly the same thing for Dropbox. Save the tokens. Like this. So I think that we are now ready to see if this first step for getting access to our cloud services, if this first step is working. So to summarize, first thing that we need to do is initialize our non-visual cloud components, try to load previously saved access tokens, and initialize our checkboxes with the validity of these access tokens. And if the access tokens are not valid, we can authenticate, authorize with each of these services. And finally is the step here in the unreceived access token, from where we can save our retrieved access key. So let's deploy this application and test out the first steps in consuming these cloud services. So the application is now building and deploying via PA server on the MacBook and is being sent to the iPad device. And it should be starting in a moment. Okay, there it is. Okay, and here we have our screen. So here we have the tab where we can select the image, and here we have the tab where we can initialize access to these cloud services. So we are going to go through each of these. And so I select Facebook to start with, where I enter my Facebook account, because this is the place where we are going to post something with this test application. So I enter my Facebook account. Now we will need to hide this screen, because otherwise everyone in the world can know my password for Facebook, which is not really the intention. So password is entered, I press login, and we can see on this screen that we retrieved a valid access token from Facebook. We're going to do the same for Twitter. We are redirected to the login screen from Twitter, where I enter my Twitter account name, and same trick for the password. So the password is entered right now, and so pay a little bit attention to the screen. You see here the name of the application that I registered for this demo, and you see here some information about the permissions that this application is requesting from the Twitter cloud service to do with Twitter. So we want to read tweets, we want to post something, and we are going to authorize this application. So authorization was successful, as we received also an access token for Twitter. Now we're going to do the final step for our Dropbox account, where I enter the account name for my Dropbox, like this, and entering the password, and the password is added. So I can here sign in now on Dropbox, and we see some information that in this case the application registered with the name TMS Software Test, that this application would like to get connectivity to the Dropbox service. We allow this, and after Dropbox validated this, we can see now that we also have a checkbox for our Dropbox account. So we also retrieved an access token successfully from Dropbox. Okay, so now we can go back to Delphi. And so now we need to add the code from the tab where the camera is going to do its work. And there we need to add some code that will actually send the picture that we take to our Facebook account, to Twitter and to Dropbox. So we do this from here. And I pick up the code snippet that I prepared for this and plug this into this event handler. So what is actually happening? Let's go back to the toolbar from where the picture is taken. And here we can actually see the delegate that is called when our camera has retrieved an image. And what we do here is we save this as a bitmap, and we insert in our list box of images the name of this image with some date information to have a unique name for this image, and the object in this list box will be the instance of the bitmap obtained from the camera. So if we go to the code behind the button, what we do here is check if there's an item in the list box selected. If it's selected, we know that the object associated with the list box item is our bitmap that we captured previously. And so what we are going to do is we will save this bitmap into the iPad documents folder. We save it to file, and then we call simple methods of our cloud access components. So first of all, we perform a check if we have a valid access token, because we know that if the checkbox is checked that we have a valid access token, and if so, we perform an upload to our Cloudbox, to our Dropbox account. And the same for Facebook. So we post this image and the text that we have entered in our text control to the Facebook account, and we tweet with the image to our Twitter account. So let's take the challenge and deploy this application again to our iPad device. And so we are going to switch already to the Reflector application, where we will see the FireMonkey iOS application being started in a moment. There it is. First thing that happens in the form create is checking whether the access tokens that were obtained in the previous session, whether these are still valid. And as we can see here on this page, all three checkboxes are checked, meaning that the access token is still valid. Now let's move to the Facebook page at this time, where we will post this information, and this is the current state of the Facebook page. That's very important that we see that the image that we will post will actually be a new image. Here we have the current Twitter account, and here we have the Dropbox folder where this image will be added. So we see right now one folder, one file on the Dropbox account. So let's move back to the application, and now we are going to take a picture first. So I have here in the office the catalog box from Kraftwerk. This is the image that we are going to use to send to our different cloud accounts. I add some text to that. So the new text that I'm adding here is CodeRage Mobile 2013, and let's add Kraftwerk to that. So this is the text, So now when I push this button, it will send the image, selected image, to my Dropbox account, to my Facebook account, and will also perform a tweet. So I push this button, and actually right now it's sending this image to Dropbox, it's sending it to Facebook, and it's finally tweeting about it. So now I move back to my Dropbox account, where you can already see that this image was added. Here it is. If you go to Facebook and I press refresh, it's not already added here. Here we can see that the tweet on my Twitter account already happened. And let's do a refresh again on Facebook, and here we can see the image that was added just right now on my Facebook account. And so that brings us to the end of this demo. And this demo application, we will also put everything together and make the full source code available so you can play with it at home. So if you want to learn something more about the technical details of OAuth, I have some references here. One is an OAuth 2.0 book on O'Reilly. Of course, the two RFC specifications for OAuth 1.0 and OAuth 2.0. Everything about OAuth you can find at oauth.net. And finally, a very interesting website is www.programmableweb.com. That is a sort of category or categorized index of all kinds of cloud services that are meanwhile available, and this documents the service and informs what exactly it offers. A very recommendable website. So that brings us to the Q&A part of this session. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. We will try to answer these.
Sandro asked whether or not the components can also be used to get to iCloud.
Currently, we have two sets of components. We have a set of components for VCL applications, and we have this set of components for iOS applications. With respect to iCloud, right now in the VCL version, we have access to iCloud Contacts and iCloud Calendar. But that's not available in the iOS version. For calendar and contacts specifically, I'm not sure if that makes sense, because you have actually, or you should have, direct access possibilities to your contacts list and calendar on the device itself. If you refer to other items that can be on the iCloud, there are also direct iOS APIs available to access that from iOS applications. So on the iOS side, I'm not sure if that makes sense. For the VCL side, so other information than contacts and calendar, we are still investigating that, and if it's technically possible, it's definitely something that we are looking at and want to add on the VCL side.
Excellent. And this is I've put up on a browser the link to the TMS software site so everybody can take a look, and there's the specific set of the TMS Cloud Pack for iOS. Let's see, Davis is asking, does the sample you showed, does that come with in product demos?
There are several demo applications included in the version that you download from the Embarcadero website if you purchased XC4. So on your XC4 download page, you should find the installer for the TMS Cloud Pack for iOS. The demo that I prepared for this presentation for today is not included in that distribution. I created this demo specifically for today's presentation, and I will put everything together and make it available as a download. I'm not sure if this will be going through Embarcadero or if we simply put the download on our website. For me, it's either solution is good for me, but the goal is definitely the demo that you see today, that you can have all the source codes and run it yourself from your machines. The only thing, of course, that you will have to do is register the applications on the different services, because, as I explained, for evident reasons, we cannot share our own application credentials. So you will need to register for Facebook, Twitter, and Dropbox if you want to run that sample, and simply replace the keys where in the ink file to run this application.
Great. Keith is asking the new TMS ICL component set, are those iOS specific?
Those are definitely iOS specific. These are actually created especially for iOS, because these components expose the native iOS controls and make them available for creating with Delphi XE4 iOS applications. So what you see in the screenshot right now, for example, is on the left side you see the native UI table view. On the top you see the toolbar, so that's the native iOS toolbar. So actually every control that you see on this screen are all native iOS controls. It's actually very similar to the VCL, where a T-edit and a T-list box and the T button are VCL component wrappers around Windows class controls like button, edit, list box. So it's the same thing, but for iOS.
Now, the going back to the cloud components, the version that we have as the XE4 registered user download is specific for iOS, but are there also components for Cloud Pack for Windows and Mac?
Right now, not yet. The main problem here is, so on the VCL side, everything is fine and working, and that's no issue. For FireMonkey applications, it's currently only targeted at iOS, and the very reason why that is so is that only in iOS we currently have access to a web browser, and the web browser is a critical part because it is used to do the authentication. The OAuth specification demands that you are redirected to a login page of the service that you want to access for security reasons to enter your username and password there. If we would have a browser that we can use in FireMonkey Windows application or a FireMonkey Mac OS X application, then it would be quite easy to have also a version of the Cloud Pack for FireMonkey apps on Windows and Mac OS X. So the real answer here is that we are not sure if there will be a web browser for Windows or for Mac OS X in XE5. So if that's the case, you can expect that shortly after XE5 we will also have this available for FireMonkey Windows and FireMonkey Mac OS X applications.
It seems the cloud components with the new offer don't include source code. They're not the full iOS cloud component set. Well, it's go ahead, Bruno. What is included in what we give for the XE4 promotion versus what you have available from TMS software?
So actually the only difference is indeed the source code. Other than this, the components are fully functional. There are no limitations at all. So you get the pack just the same as our product, except that source code is not included.
Yep. So just upgrade to TMS software Cloud Pack for iOS to get the source code. Mike has asked, is there any way to check the status of a push when you put something into the cloud?
I'm not sure I've understood the question. The status of what?
Of the push, he says. I don't know. Maybe by Mike, are you saying by push that when you like send an image up to a cloud service or push something out to Twitter or whatever? Do you know if it's successful when it happens?
Well, so actually, this is not. This actually depends on the cloud service itself, how it responds to the action that you perform. So most cloud services will either return an HTTP error if something goes wrong. We catch these HTTP errors, and so that response can be used to know if the post was successful or not. Some other ways of communicating the status of an action with a cloud service is if the cloud service is returning a response in a JSON packet, for example. So in our components, we check the HTTP results, and we also check, depending on the cloud service, if there is any other way of response coming back, like a JSON packet. And so we have encapsulated that in a component, and we return a true if it's successful and a false if the post is not successful.
So if the cloud service returns something that you can grab, then you'll surface that up as a return. Okay. What about, Rick, I'm not sure the question, what about TMS Pack for iOS? Maybe he's asking about the FireMonkey Components. There's lots of, TMS Pack for FireMonkey. Is that now Windows, Mac, and iOS?
Yes, that's supporting all platforms that FireMonkey is supporting right now. So it works on Windows, Mac OS X, and also iOS, of course. There are no limitations there.
Ooh, let's see. Is it possible to make an app that actually uses the end user regular Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn account to access the web services instead of using my app developer account? Danny Wynn's asking this question at 9:42 a.m.
I'm not sure. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, I'm not sure either. He's saying, is it possible to make an app that actually uses the end user regular Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn account to access the web services? And then in parentheses, he says, instead of using my app developer account. I don't know what that means, Danny.
Okay, I think I understand. So in the demo, I have created the applications from my Facebook account, Twitter account, or Dropbox account. And so it might have seemed that everything was linked to the same account, but that's actually not the case. So if you refer back to the demo where I did a login to authenticate and authorize with Twitter, Facebook, and Dropbox from the iPad device, I could have used another Facebook account or Twitter account or a Dropbox account. So if you would, for example, deploy this application into the App Store, each user of this application would use their Twitter, Facebook, or Dropbox account to authenticate and authorize, while your application would, of course, use your application credentials that you registered from your accounts with Twitter, Facebook, and Dropbox.
Are the post events, for example, tweet with media, thread safe so you can do them in the background?
Right now, they are not yet. That's actually a to-do item to make it optional whether you do it synchronous or asynchronous.
Since ICL is iOS specific, does that mean there will be additional different kind for other mobile platforms like Android?
That's an interesting question. I cannot answer that question right now because it's very simple. There is nothing yet that I've seen or that I know about, or if I know that there is a need for this, or what the situation will be with Android in XE5. So I think we will have to wait and see. The only thing I can say about this is that where we feel that we can add value to the product, for example, we feel that we can add value by creating this ICL component set. If we feel that we can add the same value for Android, that is definitely something that we will consider.
Yep. Feature requests. Yep. See, I loaded the components up, so Chris went to the Red User download page, and he doesn't see any demos in the TMS iOS directory where they are located. Are the demos somewhere else?
They should be installed under users, and I believe it's public documents, and then TMS software, and then TMS Cloud Pack for iOS.
Okay.
So it's definitely in a different path than the path where the components itself are installed, for the obvious reason that you need to have right permissions in the folder where you want to open up and edit the application.
Exactly. So, and I'll look on my machine as well and continue to add. Chris is saying if there are other cloud services you're considering, or will more be added to the cloud pack over time.
Yes,
I guess
definitely.
like Instagram, Vine, there's all sorts of other services.
Yes, actually, I can already confirm that we have Instagram working in our office. So that's one of the next services that will be added. And we are working on and looking at other services as well. Next up, we are looking, for example, also at Foursquare, already working with it and made significant progress on that. And we keep listening, of course, to feedback from users. And if you find some interesting service that you want to see covered in our cloud packs, be it for VCL or iOS, we are, of course, looking forward to hear from you. And we also watch the website that I mentioned, programmableweb.com, where there's lots of information on cloud services to be found. And so we try to cover what our users find interesting.
Yep. Any idea if you'll be developing your FMX Grid to support grouping like DB Express, drag column up to grouping area, and so on?
That's on the feature request list. There are other users who have, yes, it's in the FireMonkey Pack. There you can find, if you scroll a little bit down, you can find the grids.
Yep.
Yeah, there it is. So it's on the feature request list. There are a few other users who have been asking for that feature. Right now, our team has been very busy with ICL and Cloud Pack for iOS. And if we reached the stage that we wanted to reach with that, one of the things that we are going to do is start a new development cycle on our FireMonkey controls. And so that feature is one of the things that will be considered for a future version.
Excellent. Okay, that was just that. That's for me to do. Oh, Albert was asking, well, which set to use for Mac, and I guess I'm not sure what he's meaning. There's Cloud Pack for iOS, as you mentioned, but there's the whole set of FireMonkey components, the TMS Pack for FireMonkey, Workshop, Instrumentation Workshop, Table View. All of that is available for Windows, Mac, and iOS. So Albert, you've got lots of TMS. I put the list here. TMS components for either iOS specific or across everything that all the platforms that FireMonkey supports.
I'm not sure, David, if you have any information if and when there could be a browser for Mac OS X.
I don't. It was asked yesterday too of JT. I know the teams are looking at it. It's just, again, it's so easy to do when there's a standard WebKit that's available on iOS and Android. The challenge is what to do for Windows. Mac might be a little easier, but yeah, there's no answer right now, other than the team wants to have a T-Web browser component for FireMonkey that's across all the platforms that FireMonkey supports. That's the current info for now.
Okay, well, as this is essential for our Cloud Pack, so users can count on it. As soon as there is a web browser, we will extend support in our FireMonkey Cloud Pack for Windows and Mac OS X.
Yeah, no, I want it to. All I can do for now is I do a shell execute with a URL on Windows and a system call with a URL on Macintosh, and browser window pops up. That's the best I can do currently, other than maybe somebody else would take the T-Web browser interfaces and implement them themselves on top of like Chrome runtime or, heaven forbid, IE runtime on Windows. I know Google has forked, Keith is mentioning, Google announced a couple months ago that they had forked WebKit from Mozilla because they wanted to do enhancement speed and memory enhancements because of Chrome OS and, of course, what they're doing in Chrome. So maybe they would do something where WebKit would be available wherever Chrome runs, which would include Windows and Mac, for example, which would give us a WebKit runtime that would be standard across all platforms. Of course, if Google forks WebKit, will they preserve all the interfaces?
That would be excellent news.
And that would be a question for Google. People could go and search Google WebKit fork, and there's a blog on Google. I forget if it was developers.google.com or somewhere that I found, where they announced what they were doing, and keep in touch with them. And we're keeping in touch with Google and Apple as well. Then it would be simpler. We could choose just WebKit on all platforms, which would make life wonderful for everyone. Somebody asked a question, is there anything different between TMS Pack for FireMonkey exe2 versus exe4?
Yes, that's actually different. I would personally recommend for FireMonkey development to use exe4. There are lots of differences in the framework, and I would say lots of improvements between exe2 and exe4 in the FireMonkey framework that definitely make it worthwhile to use exe4 for cross-platform development. And that's also what we focus on. So in our development, that's our primary development environment for FireMonkey components, and that's the area where we focus on. And I would recommend it to everyone to go the exe4 way instead of sticking with exe2.
Yeah, exe2 was subset of FireMonkey, on iOS at least. That was the free Pascal way, and it was also just the first version of FireMonkey. We've done FireMonkey second generation in exe3 with a bunch of new services and refactorings and cleanup, and then just more services because of iOS in exe4. But again, I'm pointing people to the version history on the TMS Pack for FireMonkey page, where you can see sort of the lineage of history of things that have been enhanced, fixed, improved, and so on. So you can go to the TMS Pack for FireMonkey page, if I could ever type properly while I'm talking. and I'll copy that link and paste it into the chat log here. Okay. Are there plans for a component similar to VR track bar for FireMonkey iOS? Maybe that's vertical track bar. Maybe that's a question for me. I don't know. Well, Bruno, we're at the top of the hour, and I know it's a little after 7 p.m. for you. I want to thank you for putting this presentation together and for the Q&A across all the TMS products. Bruno is an awesome presenter, not only at CodeRage's, but at many Delphi and FireMonkey events. Is involved in the Delphi, the Belgium Delphi conference that happens each year that I'm going to be at in November. And
Great.
Delphi Taga and on the Pascal conference in the Netherlands, all over the place. I think you were also with Carrie and Bob at the European Delphi Developer Days as well.
Yes, that's correct, in Amsterdam.
Yeah, so it's great to have you as a technology partner and also a very active member in our community. Thanks, Bruno.
Well, thank you, David. Thank you for having me here and for having the opportunity to do this, to take part in this exciting CodeRage